The other thing that I firmly believe is that your portfolio every day has a new evaluation of risk relative to what the market is doing today. In other words, when you bought, let's say you bought General Electric way over here in September, okay? And now we come all the way forward to November. Is the market different today than it was when you bought it in September? Yes, correct? Therefore, the evaluation of risk to that position is new going forward. And what I find is that investors only evaluate the risk based on the instrument that they bought, not relative to the market that they're in. You have to evaluate both. See, both have bearing on what's going on. Here's the other thing we tend to ignore. It's called sentiment. It's called what's the psychology of the market today. And I think that I have some slides, but I will talk about investor psychology, market psychology, and the outside the market influence that creates that psychology. And so what happens is all of these things culminate together to create what's happening in the market day to day. Now, we can also do the same thing on a longer-term time horizon. So if I'm a short-term trader versus a longer-term buy and hold trader, then you have two different psychological events that are going on in the market. You have to now take the short-term events and project them where? Longer term. In other words, some of Wednesday's impact was Barack Obama. He made some comments on Tuesday and Wednesday about the financial bailout money and what he thought should be done with that money, which is different than what is being done with that money. Financials went down 8.2%. That's a temporary event. That is not what he thinks impacts the market short term. What he thinks long term is irrelevant. In other words, his short-term comment long term to the market is irrelevant. So you have to step back and say, if I'm a long-term buyer of financials, what would I do today? You would have one of two things. You would either add to the position, or you would say, okay, I'm moving my stop, I'm doing whatever. But in other words, you manage the risk of that event. And that's what this is all about. That's the challenge of doing this. Now, I make it sound simple. I understand. I do this 12 hours a day. I understand that. I understand that I've been doing this for a long time. So I understand there's time events in this. So I will try to give you the simple of this. The problem is that we try to manage complex instruments without time involved. And complex instruments to me are options, stocks, futures. All of those are complex instruments. Whereas if I buy ETFs, mutual funds, closed-end funds, things that are packaged and diversified, they're much simpler to manage on a relative basis going forward. Is that fair? So what happens is you may come to a show like this and you hear different people speak from, Tobin telling you what to buy relative to what's going on in certain stocks, to everybody who's out there in the exhibit hall telling you different strategies, software, all of this. And they want it to be so simple for you. It is not. It is not a simple task. I don't care if you buy VectorVest, Blocks, TradeStation, Ameritrade, Fidelity, any of their software that have heat maps, coded maps, red light, green light maps, and everything else. You have to develop a strategy that becomes complex to you to manage. Do not buy into the simplicity issue. Now, I do believe you can dummy it down to the simple. So you have to decide. This is you. You've got to decide how far you want to get into this. And so I can go as far as you want, or I can stay as shallow as you want. So I have spent a lot of time studying this, and understand, I've studied two components. To me, the logical part of the market is very easy. It's the emotional side of the market that is very difficult. It's learning how to read that part of the market efficiently to manage your portfolio. Does that make sense? All right?